So here we have system health as well as resource consumption. So the appliance health is just that, right? It's a pretty straightforward one. It shows us the key resource constraints for each of the appliances, right? And it actually will color code things. This particular report didn't happen to have any, showing us, to indicate what those resources are if they're approaching their limits, right? So within, for example, the V-disks, right, we have a warning limit. So if I was approaching one of those warning limits, then I would actually highlight it so you could see very quickly that we were reaching, a certain capacity of the system. Same is true with the pools as well. So what we're after really is looking for those ones with the highest consumption and trying to say, okay, why am I using so much space off of this particular one? So it gives me a lot of ability to go in and say, okay, I'm looking at, I can see that this one here, the capacity is a little higher. That's okay. It's still only at 13% of my pool space and so on. Looking to see exactly what my percentages are. It becomes a useful tool in troubleshooting the system, to being able to go in and doing that analysis to say, I want to look at where are resources being consumed over time so that I can make a decision to say, okay, I have a particular app that for some reason is consuming large amount of space. What's going on with that? Maybe I'm protecting it, and for some reason I've told it to do full ingest each time, things like that. I want to be able to go in and look at those. The pool utilization history does just what it says. It's going to go in and show us the daily usage for each of the major pools of the system. Okay. Pool consumption. This is actually one of the graphs you can pull up on the desktop UI as well. There is a diagnostic selection on the domain managers page, and there are quite a few graphs there that you can go in and bring up there as well. So this one shows us the snapshot pool and VDIS trends for basically over time and who are the top consumers. So the table that's just off the bottom of my page there would provide for me the information telling me basically what's who's consuming it. That second one letting me know what's going on with the system. Similar report for the Dedup, showing me its pool utilization and again who's using up the space. That's what I want to pay attention. Okay, another category, capacity planning. These are those actual reports. So what we have is, first of all, the application contribution to cumulative V-disk utilization. Quite a mouthful, but a great report that's going in and showing me the contribution of the existing and new apps to usage by day. It summarizes the total number of the apps, its breakdown into new and old, right, and the total cumulative V-disk usage. So again, this is something I want to use to say, all right, I'm approaching my limits in my V-disk. Are there apps that for some reason are consuming a large number of V-disks? Perhaps I'm telling it to snap too often, and so as a result, I'm using up all those V-disks. Or my retention is set up to be too long a period of time, and I'm retaining that information beyond its normal life, and to a point where I can say, all right, can I go in and adjust my SLAs accordingly? Can I tell it not to perform the activity quite so often? Don't snap every 4 hours, change it to 12, and I've already got a reduction of 3 times. Or change it to daily. Look at the specific applications that are causing the issues. Who is using up all of my space? So by looking at that, I can make smart decisions on how to proceed. Do I take this particular app out of this particular template, create a different one for it so that it's protected in a different way? What are the things I want to do? But without identifying it, I'm not going to have any information. So this report shows me that. Same thing now for daily snap pool, right? Who's using up my space is what I'm concerned about. I want to know what's happening with the space. Again, existing and new, right? Going to look at our ingest, see how we can determine what the cumulative daily average of the pool ingest is over the reporting period. Similar for the dedups. And then we get a utilization history. I mentioned that one before, but also works well here. And storage resource trending. So I mentioned earlier when I was just going through the list of them that this is one of my favorites as well. to me, this tells you a great deal of information that's useful in that what we're doing is we're showing you the consumption for the Snapshot and Dedup pool and VDisks, right, which is off my screen, unfortunately, but the VDisks as well. And it really projects what's going on. So as you can see, I can see the trend up to a certain point here. This is when the data really, happened. It's what I actually consumed. The blue line being what my capacity is. So I can see I came up close on capacity at this time, and again here, right? And I'm pretty well in a steady state most of the time, other than these two big glitches that happen. This is great, right? I'm in a steady state where I'm consuming space at a pretty regular basis. The trend is as follows, right? Looking at the Snapshot pool, similar type of thing, where I'm going in and I can see, an upward trend here, projecting outward. So you use this to determine, does this mean I need to have space available, right? If I follow this trend, this is a report taken back in August of last year, but as you can see, I'm getting pretty close to capacity if I continue on this trend in November. So maybe by December, I'll hit capacity. Do I have storage available? If not, do I have to order additional storage so that it will become available when the time comes? And again, that was covered in David's presentation as well, where he talked about how to add additional space within a pool. Last section I'm going to cover here, there's three that deal with the MDL consumption, your licensing. And as you can see, a summary, an overtime one, and a details. I'm just going to review the quickest one of that list, and that one is the summary report. So, it does exactly what it says. It's giving you a summary of your managed data consumption. It consists really of three sections here. We have the consumption by application type, which is telling us, how we're consuming it and the count of applications contributing to it, right? We also have the data consumption in terabytes, right, and a chart of the applications per application type. We can also look at consumption based on organization as well as application type. So you can, say, okay, is a particular organization consuming more space than others? Things like that. I do want to make sure you remember that our MDL, your managed data license, is based on what we are protecting, not the number of images and things that we have in storage. So if I take a particular 300 gigabyte file system and I bring that into my Snap pool first, then I'm consuming that space, that 300 gigabytes, and I can make 1 million copies of it, and it will not change my MDL. The MDL will only be based on the source data we are protecting, the 300 gigabytes.
Thank you for joining us for another YouTube Tech Tip video. If you like the content you're seeing on this channel, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you will be alerted to any future content.